All right, folks, buckle up because what you're about to hear was never meant to see daylight. Secret bunker buster footage, a covert Iran strike that just vaporized a nuclear nightmare, and now a traitor's on the run. Hunted after President Trump just scored a Supreme Court win that the media does not want you to understand. So today, tonight, whenever you guys happen to be watching this video, I'm going to go ahead and pull back the curtain on what really just went down behind those Pentagon blast doors and why the leaker who tried to sabotage it is now facing 20 years behind bars, maybe even more. Guys, we're talking about Operation Midnight Hammer, 15 years of silent intel, a precision strike that slammed straight through a mountainside bunker. And let's not even forget about the footage that proves exactly why President Trump's America First strategy just scared Iran stupid. But here's a twist. While brave pilots risked their lives, some butthead in Washington, D.C. decided to try to blow it all up with one reckless leak. And so now the FBI, the DOJ, and President Trump's team are on the hunt, and nobody on Capitol Hill is safe right now. So stick with me because in the next few minutes, you're going to see how the Supreme Court just shut down rogue judges, how this leak hunt could end with handcuffs on a Hill staffer, and why this bunker buster test is the nightmare that the Ayatollah never saw coming. So we got a lot to talk about today, guys. If you appreciate the daily news updates, hit the like button and subscribe. So first, let's jump into exactly what this secret Pentagon footage proved about America's strike power, okay? And why the White House is calling this mission one of the boldest moves in modern history. All right, so let's go ahead and lean in here because what you're about to hear is the piece that the legacy media will not spell out, okay? Let's start with a simple question. Why did President Trump give the green light for what insiders call the boldest bunker buster strike in decades? Why did he do it, right? Also, what exactly did the secret Pentagon footage reveal? So first, the target, Fordow. If you've never heard of Fordow, you're not alone. Most people haven't. I never even heard of it before like a couple weeks ago. Anyway, inside the U.S. and Israeli intelligence circles, Fordow has been a blinking red dot on the map for like 2 decades. Buried deep under a mountain, hardened concrete, this thing was deep enough to make conventional airstrikes completely worthless until now. 15 years, okay? This is how long America's best minds were gaming out one question. How do you kill a nuclear threat buried under rock without risking thousands of lives in a ground war, right? The answer, a customized generation of bunker buster bombs that don't just hit, they burrow, they blast, and then they vaporize. So President Trump's team, working shoulder to shoulder with Israeli analysts, tracked Fordow's every shipment, every truck, every suspicious cylinder moving in or out. They waited for the exact window. And when it opened, Operation Midnight Hammer slammed it shut. So now here's where the secret footage clips and ultimately flips the whole story on its head. While the mission itself is classified, the Pentagon did something rare. They showed test footage and a blast model, the raw proof that our bunker busters could actually shred Fordow's defenses layer by layer. Now, this wasn't like Hollywood CGI. This was hard physics, overpressure shockwaves, deep tunnel penetrations, and backup warheads stacked in sequence. If one failed, the next punched deeper. 6 bombs, each of them ready to finish what the last one started. So General Kane, standing at the White House podium, he didn't sugarcoat it. He laid out exactly why every single bomb performed exactly as planned. Built to spec, loaded properly, launched on time, guided on target, and detonated on command. No margin for error, no mercy for Tehran's secret program. But here is the kicker, guys. The Pentagon never intended for this to become cable news drama. The footage was shown behind closed doors to Congress only, to our closest allies, to silence the doubters and remind every enemy on earth that under President Trump, America's red lines are real. The goal, to protect strength and calm, not leak every classified detail into the world. Well, why are we here talking about this leak right now? Because some numbskull out there, somebody inside, decided to gamble with your security and mine. They took the raw power of that secret proof and then they twisted into some kind of a political like ammunition. Then they handed it off, and in doing so, They didn't just disinterpret the entire mission, they insulted the pilots, the analysts, the engineers who spent 15 years making sure you and me and your family wouldn't wake up one day to a nuclear version of Iran. So you want to know how high the stakes really were? Well, according to what we know now, these weapons penetrated at speeds of over 1,000 feet per second, cracked open the mountain, detonated with precision, and left the Ayatollah guessing if they had enough of a backup plan at all. And just in case Iran thought that they could hide, the Pentagon had modelings showing how the blast layer and impulse shock wiped out anything that they thought that they could bury. And the best part about this, President Trump didn't even boast. He didn't leak it to the headlines. He let the Pentagon show exactly enough to keep America's enemies awake at night and nothing more. But that wasn't enough for whoever decided that they were going to be bigger than the law. And this is where this really gets dark, because leaking just a glimpse of that classified strike planning didn't just break trust. It blew open signals intelligence, sources, and methods that we can't replace overnight. So this was a massive, massive problem that they created. Now, one viewer wrote in a previous comment in a previous video, said, "Chapter, they saved me thousands. And I even got free premium Instacart for food shopping. It took no time. Thank you, Ron. I'm telling all my friends to call." Wow. I really do appreciate that comment. Then I got another comment from Buck. He said he's a senior on Social Security. He said, "I'm saving $166 a month. When this is your only income, $166 is a sweet raise." Is there anyone else watching this show right now that would like to get another, get a $166 raise? I think that would be awesome. Now, I can't promise you anything, but what I can say is that the folks over at Chapter are absolutely amazing. And the only way to find out how much you could save is to reach out to them. So I'll leave their phone number down below. It's 100% free to call them. Just amazing group of people over there, and so patient and so helpful. So if you are over 65 and you want to find out how much you can save on your Medicare, give our friends at Chapter a call, 909-563-8279. Link in the description down below, or hit them up on their website at askchapter.org/Ron. So check this out, guys. You've stayed with me so far. So here's what you have to know about Operation Midnight Hammer, okay? This wasn't just another Middle East strike or just some basic airstrike. This was a once-in-a-generation surgical blow aimed straight at the heartbeat of Iran's nuclear ambitions. I want you to think about this. For 15 years, two top U.S. and Israeli analysts watched Fordow like hawks. Every truck, every fuel rod, every sign that Iran's regime was quietly enriching uranium where the world couldn't see. And while the swamp in DC argued, real patriots were solving the real problem. How do you crush a mountain without losing a single American boot on the ground, right? This is where Midnight Hammer came in. This is a strike plan built on layers of redundancy and real-world testing. So the Pentagon's engineers designed these bunker busters to do what no other munition could: drill down through solid rock, detonate in sequence, and tear apart the tunnel networks that fed Iran's bomb dreams. Okay, so General Kane, he confirmed exactly how it happened. First blast, crack the cap. Second wave, follow the fissures deeper. Third and fourth, obliterate the hardware. Fifth and sixth, cover every failsafe, ensuring Fordow couldn't just patch up and restart. And all of this launched at precisely the moment U.S. and Israeli intel said that Iran's stockpile was on the move. Now, that was the key there, guys. So now, here's where it gets even sharper. Who grades the aftermath, right? Not the Joint Force. That's not their job. The men and women who fly the jets and build the bombs do not grade their own homework. The intel community does, okay? So confirming targets destroyed, hardware lost, enrichment lines shredded, and while the final deep dive is still classified, General Kane made it crystal clear. Every indicator says Fordow's core was smashed exactly as modeled. No spin, no guesswork, just results. But I want you to ask yourself this. How did President Trump even get to pull the trigger on this mission without watching the whole plan just get frozen by some activist judge? This is where the Supreme Court ruling comes in. And you need to understand how big this was, okay? So just a couple days ago, the Supreme Court ruled that lower district judges cannot keep slamming the brakes on national policy with these nationwide injunctions. You know the ones, the same legal tricks used for years to try and stall Trump's immigration orders, the border funding, the energy projects, you name it. These little peon judges would just intervene. So one rogue judge in one city stopping an entire federal plan cold, that makes no sense. So the Supreme Court said no more. Justice Barrett's opinion spelled out. Federal courts aren't here to babysit the executive branch. They're here to resolve real disputes, not invent power Congress never gave them. And you bet the swamp hates that, right? Well, if you don't, you might be wondering, well, why do they hate that? Well, I'll tell you why. Because for the first time in years, President Trump's authority to defend America, to secure our borders, and to neutralize real threats like Fordow, it's rock solid. So, of course, the same usual suspects, Justice Sotomayor, Kagan, and Jackson, they dropped their dissent. They warned about patchwork rulings, claiming different courts might reach different results. But here's the reality, guys. When national security is on the line, this ruling means no more judges playing as if they're commander-in-chief from the bench. All right? Can I get an amen on that, guys? And this brings us right back to the leak. Because even with this leak, someone inside the chain still tried to sabotage the plan. So we need to talk about this, all right? So we now know the strike worked, okay? There's no ambiguity around that. We know that the bombs hit like thunder. We know the Supreme Court just locked down President Trump's authority to act. But none of that changes this fact. Someone inside the system cracked. So I want to go ahead and break this down. The leak that's turned Washington upside down wasn't just gossip. It was a classified DIA report, Defense Intelligence Agency, the real backbone behind our eyes and ears overseas. So that report held two kinds of poison for America's allies and for our people if it ever got out. So first, it described signals intelligence, how our teams monitored Iran's nuclear moves. First of all, you don't want to let that information get out, but they let it get out. All right. So this means sources, listening posts, electronic intercepts. You're basically telling them how we figured it out. This person, they need to put them under the jail, whoever this leaker was. So that was the lifeblood of finding out what regimes like Iran tried to hide underground. Second, it laid out visual recon, like how the satellites and manned flights kept eyes on Fordow for years. That alone reveals how close our people were, and it gives Tehran hints on where to plug the holes next time. You see why this is so much of a problem here? So when that classified report surfaced in the media before clearance, that wasn't a whistleblower trying to warn the public. That was an insider playing with fire. It told Iran how we watch them, where we listen, and maybe how to dodge us the next time. That's not free speech. This is straight up sabotage. And this is exactly why the Espionage Act exists. And so now the Trump DOJ, the FBI, even Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, they're not playing softball here. They're digging straight through the chain of custody, from the DIA vault to the Pentagon briefers to every cleared staffer who touched it, all the way to Congress. And guess what? Nobody's untouchable. Not a single Hill staffer, not a single career insider, not even a lawmaker who thinks that they're above the badge. And for those who are still wondering, the rules are clear. The First Amendment protects honest journalists from being jailed just for publishing what they're given, but it does not protect the mole inside who leaked it. So that person swore an oath. That person signed clearance papers. That person knew exactly what they were risking, and they knew exactly how much damage that they were doing to the people who risk their necks to keep that same leaker's family safe. It's pretty screwed up. So this isn't just a slap on the wrist. We're talking real jail time, 10, 20 years, maybe even more if multiple counts stack up. Because look back at Jack Teixeira, the Air Guard leak that cost him 15 years of his life. Or how about Chelsea Manning, who faced 35 years for passing files to WikiLeaks? Those cases didn't just vanish because somebody claimed to mean well. Well, I meant well. The hammer always comes down eventually. So here's what comes next. If this traitor thought that they were just going to be, staying anonymous behind Hill hallways or federal cubicles, they picked the wrong president to play games with. I'll tell you that. Because under President Trump, betrayal gets punished period. And before you think that this is just about revenge, think again, guys. Don't even let mainstream media, CNN, MSNBC run off and try to convince you that. This is about protecting the pilots who flew that mission, the families who sleep safe tonight because Fordow's buried hardware is gone, and every future strike that relies on trust inside of our own ranks. So yeah, all right. Now, you've already seen how deep this leak cut, how dangerous it was for every pilot, for every analyst, for every family that depends on this country to stay one step ahead of enemies who would love nothing more than to see America sleep while they build the next Fordow. So here's where President Trump stands, and he made it crystal clear through his White House press team and his closest advisors. No betrayal goes unpunished, period. So when Caroline Leavitt stepped up at the briefing, she didn't mince words at all. She said it plain. Leaking top secret classified intelligence is a crime, and people need to be held accountable for that crime. There's no spin, no excuses. This administration's message to the entire intelligence community and every federal insider is simple. If you break trust with the American people, you pay for it. And don't think for a second that this is just some cold crackdown. Guys, this is about loyalty to the pilots who carried out Operation Midnight Hammer without a second of hesitation, to the engineers who spent 15 years of their lives designing the bunker busters that make any dictator think twice, and to every citizen who deserves to think under, to every citizen who deserves to sleep under a sky where nuclear nightmares get buried and not built. This is compassion the way it should be, not some fake speeches on cable news, not some real protection for the people who keep this nation alive. And if you think that the Ayatollahs and their proxies in Tehran didn't get the message, think again. Because when Trump signs off on a precision strike this bold and it follows up with a mole hunt this aggressive, well, it tells every enemy exactly what happens when you cross America's line, doesn't it? No rogue judge, no half-baked leak, no bureaucrat playing hero with top secret files is going to hand America's playbook to the next terrorist state. Not under President Trump. Not with a Supreme Court that just shut the door on these nationwide injunction games. Not with federal law enforcement who finally have a green light to do their job, all the way to the cuffs and the cell door. And you want the real big picture here, guys? It's this. This is how you rebuild trust in American power. You show our allies that if we promise to stop a nuclear threat, we stop it. You show our allies that we mean business, and we show our enemies that we're not bluffing. We're planning. You show every insider with sticky fingers that if they cross the line, they answer for it in court, not on cable news book tours. So this is what America First really looks like when it's done right. Precision, power, and protection for the people who count on that flag to mean something. So here it is, guys. America's commander-in-chief didn't just drop bunker busters on Fordow. He dropped the hammer on every traitor who thought that they'd twist a classified mission into their own personal megaphone. He won a Supreme Court fight that restores real authority to the Oval Office, guys. The authority to protect you, your family, your future without watching activist judges freeze the playbook from some courtroom bench. Trump showed the world that we are not bluffing. And the leaker who thought that they would stay anonymous just learned that when President Trump says no more games, he means it. So here's my promise to you. I'm going to be tracking this hunt day by day, every piece that breaks, every suspect that flips, every move the DOJ makes to slam this betrayal shut for good. You're not going to hear it straight from the legacy media. We know that, but you will hear it straight from me. So if you stand for the pilots, the families, the truth, share this video now. Drop a comment down below on what you think should happen to the mole when they're caught. And make sure you're subscribed so that you do not miss what comes next. This is America First, and we'll see you on the next video.